Janine. This is KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and this is Get the Funk Out. Standing by to join me is another honoree at the She Rocks Awards, Ann Mincieli. She is getting the Mad Skills Award. She's going to have to tell me more about that. She's a Grammy-winning recording engineer, studio coordinator for Alicia Keys, and co-founder of New York City-destination studio Jungle City. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you.
What did you think when you found out you were being honored?
I thought it was really, incredible for me. I've done a lot the past 2.5 years to, push the next generation forward. And Women's International, Network hit me up about this, and I just think they've done so much to push the industry forward.
Definitely.
And I'm just honored, to receive awards like this. Is just like winning a Grammy to me, because it's an honor to be, honored and to be celebrated in a way where, like, to lead and be an example for the next generation is important. I
Yeah.
do the She Is the Music. I'm one of the founders of She Is the Music, and we've worked really hard in the past 2.5 years to push the industry forward. So I was excited to get an award like this. Means a lot, and to be
That's
celebrated.
amazing.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
I saw an interview with you and you were talking about how you like to hire people that are younger. And, and that says a lot. You want to give them a chance to learn
Correct.
and grow and make a name for themselves.
Correct. It's always a hybrid, right? Like, I like to have the veteran employees that can be on deck, not only with my studio, even with hiring with Alicia, right? We love to give people a chance and help the next generation connect the dots. We can hire the veteran musician, or we can hire someone that's just as talented that needs just a little push and a little bit of help. So I think it's really important, and I want my studio to be a hybrid. I want the younger generation to lead the way. I'm super proud all of my assistants have won Grammys, and I, want to make Jungle be their home and their foundation that they can always come back to. But what they've learned here and the depth of what they've learned about the industry as a whole can push the young kids forward. So
That's amazing. Well, you
yeah.
have a great deal of empathy. I mean, especially now, here we are in the pandemic. These people must be so excited and happy to come to work because,
Yeah, and we found ways to keep a lot of the main employees busy and on salary, which has been amazing.
great.
For my studio and for Alicia to keep our whether we're going through storage units or vault stuff that we have or archiving, just find ways to say, you know what, we have to do this now, let's do it,
Good.
so we can keep money in people's pocket, if that makes
It's
sense.
important. I mean, people have to pay rent. They got to put
Correct.
food on the table. And we had talked about this. You're in Manhattan right now, but you split your time usually in LA.
Yeah, I split my time always with Alicia. We're always in New York and LA, no
Mhm.
matter what album we're working on. Kind of work on both coasts. Obviously, we're a staple of New York, obviously, Alicia and myself,
Right.
but we're just constantly, back and forth. New York is the entertainment hub, LA is an entertainment hub, and it's nice. I've been able to keep some studios busy in LA during the pandemic, and to,
Excellent.
friends, like, I'm doing this 360 immersive audio stuff. Got a great team of guys spearheading that and working on that. So just trying to find ways to navigate and delegate to just create the work. And I'm working on an incredible project with Sony. They're making some really incredible studio locations, and I've been doing that all through the pandemic. I've kept some of my acousticians and studio designers busy, but those locations will also be open, and I'll be able to
It's
give
great.
some people work.
That's amazing. Could
Yeah.
you could you give me an idea of your background? Like, do you wake up and go, "Wow, look at where I am now"? I mean, but when you were younger, was music something you always turned to?
I did. I listened to music forever. I started by playing guitar.
Hmm.
And I started by always having a fascination of, like, what is an album booklet? What is a vinyl? What is the credits in a CD? And I always would look at the studios. And I had friends that went to studios and played. And that's how I got introduced to studios at a very young age. And I realized what a hub it could be, right? Because
Right.
when you're in the studio, it's like the core. You're not working for the artist at the label, you're working with the artist, right?
Hmm.
And you can learn everything from the business side of things because you're meeting the label folks, and you also learn how to deal with obstacles in a room. You're spending 20 hours a day, 10 months with an artist, and you're seeing the ups and the downs and
Yeah.
the issues they go through, and you learn how to navigate through all of that, right? And then there's the technical things you learn, and then the skills of how to speak to someone properly and how to answer a phone and how to
Mhm.
walk in a control room or not interrupt. So it's been like, I've been doing this since I'm 16. I started in a studio in 1992. It's been my parent in a way. This is
Amazing.
how I've learned everything through the twists and turns of technology. And that's some of the stuff that I try to teach because I think the foundation of what we do is always going to be there, even through the twists and turns of technology. So,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of industry you have to always be willing to learn, with like
exactly.
now we've got, Ableton and all these,
Correct.
digital workstations and it's so interesting the way music and audio has evolved
Correct.
digitally. Yeah.
And we still like use those softwares, right? But
Hmm.
we still have musicians come in. So we're a perfect hybrid of we're still going to have our musician play the song from top to bottom. Some people might copy and paste the same 8 bars over and over, but there's
Yeah.
so many different styles. And it just, I try to teach people to, be a hybrid and be open because there's no rules. So instead of copying and pasting that same part, which
Hmm.
is very mechanical, we'll
Yes.
have the musician play the same part because it's the human element that we all love from the 60s and
Right.
70s music that we always somehow in modern pop music and rock music today go back to.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
makes
and
sense.
you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose
Correct.
that live performance, whereas so much stuff is digital. you,
Correct.
you lose that sense of creativity and newness. And I'm sure you have surprises along the way when you say, let's do another take. And all of a sudden it's like, wait,
You
that's
don't
an,
want to copy and paste, yeah, like
yeah.
or yeah. So
Exactly.
it's funny how like we're a perfect hybrid. Like we'll have live drums over program drums where Alicia will have a drummer start and play, and he'll be the basis of the tempo, and
Hmm.
he'll play the song down, and then we'll take an 8 bar loop and loop it, and the tempo is fluctuating within those 8 bars. We're not going in and just lining and chopping everything up. It's more of a feel thing. So she's balancing out the feel and the emotion. And some of that feel and emotion comes from that little bit of, hey, I'm programming, but it's not so, you know, robotic. It's not like
Right.
we're putting, sometimes music gets to the point where people are putting it together like a puzzle.
Yes.
So we try to get a little bit away from that because everything starts to sound the same. The
Yeah.
tempos are the same. There's no swing or feeling. You're lining everything up perfectly. So,
Yeah.
and I try to teach that, and to all the younger kids. It's the DAWs and the software are incredible, but go grab a guitar amp and one of my delay pedals and get the manual and learn how to use that.
Yes. Definitely. You know what, that's what I think that's great advice for people, because I always say now's the time in this pandemic to learn something new, maybe something
Exactly.
you've wanted to. Could you speak to maybe people that are kind of in this funk right now where they're musical, but they're not moving in a positive direction?
Yeah, I think, a lot of people are at home and they're in their bedrooms and you can only get to a certain point. Evolve your setup, bring a friend in, bring a musician in, experiment, check out what we're all doing. We're all posting stuff on Twitch or Instagram and,
Hmm.
like you have to put yourself in a position where you kind of can grow and feel like you're learning and evolving, especially the younger kids that are right now not going to Berkeley or not in a
Yeah.
it's a harder, like, you're not interacting with people. And I think what's important is, push the limits a little bit. Try and, do a Zoom session, try to collaborate with a cloud software with Pro Tools,
Right.
try to find a one or two pieces of gear that are affordable that you can learn to add to your production setup so
Hmm.
you can continue to evolve because it's just a bridge because we're going to get out of this pandemic and everyone's going to be back in. There's variations, there's studios, there's producers who have huge production setups, but right now everyone's almost handcuffed, no one's working together. So, once this is done, live shows, everything will come back, and the beauty of it is we'll be able to take some of the stuff we learned during the pandemic, which is like doing a session over Zoom,
Yeah.
doing a concert over Zoom. I'm on the back end of OBS, which is a software, while we're broadcasting on Amazon.com. I would have never in a million years think we would be doing that, you know?
Yeah.
So we're gonna take from this, and it's gonna really make the industry better. All these virtual performance spaces where, you know, people are separate but they look together.
Hmm.
It's an amazing time, you know. So
Right.
you know, I always offer like really positive, you know, to be as positive as you can. Pick up an instrument, pick up a drum machine, you know, evolve. There's a depth to what we do. And even at home, you can, you know, evolve.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And, I've been wanting to play more guitar, and you can pick up, used gear online, or,
Yep,
and find stuff. So I've gotten like a couple of pedals, and
that's amazing.
it's, well, like, I like love Eddie Van Halen. I was so sad he passed away. And I'm like, I got to get a phaser pedal, I want to learn that, and it's like, why
Yeah.
not? Why not? Now's the time to do it.
And you know what? It's the beauty of the technology allows us all to be on the same playing field.
Mhm.
That kid in that bedroom is using the same gear that I'm using, where years ago we had tape machines
Yeah.
and 100 input desks, right? Now what you're using at home is the same stuff I'm using in the studio. So I always try to teach that phaser that you're using, you
Hmm.
know, I'm learning and dialing that up. Either there's a plugin or there's the real
Sure.
version. So
Right.
it's really and the beauty of this is like people are going back to trying to learn live instruments because they're bored and in their house. For
Yeah.
so long technology took over, but now you see people like, you know, playing guitar and playing bass and playing drums because
Right.
they're locked at home, they're locked
Mhm.
in, you know. So
Yeah.
it,
We need that. We need that creative outlet. I mean,
we need the balance. It's a great balance to see when kids go to a school now into college, they're more interested in learning like Ableton or
yes.
DJ software, and the curriculums in the schools are they're so ever changing and evolving. It's not like, oh hey, I play saxophone or I sing. It's like
Hmm.
these other elements they have to really take into consideration. So it's
Right.
interesting now there's a whole generation now picking up instruments again, which is great.
Right. It's never been a better time. And I always say there is, like you said, there is a flip side to all of this. Is as horrible it is for people that have lost people or who are sick, or family members sick. I think there's a positive side, is that I find that I think people are connecting more on a different level. I think we were just completely taking things for granted.
Life was moving really quickly.
Yeah.
Social media, people's attention span, like even for album strategies, it's like how do you engage the younger folks? Like everything was moving so quick. You're on Instagram, you hear how do you promote you? Now it's like people got into music more. They're
Mm.
sitting with their family with an Amazon device, listening
Right.
to music all day. All of a sudden, Fleetwood Mac's "Rumors"
Can you
is
believe
like,
that?
you
Cranberry
know, like
juice bottle.
streaming, you know, immensely on TikTok. So it's an amazing time. Like it allowed us to pause a second and appreciate some of the older music,
Yes.
like the devices. People were on apps. Now all of a sudden the devices and the sound bars are popular,
Hmm.
and like streaming is down and people are listening. Like it's listening to vinyl more. Vinyls, they're selling like what was it during Black Friday? They broke records with vinyl.
Really?
So yeah.
Wow.
So it's really amazing. And I saw last week, I think Pioneer came out with like a Bluetooth USB version of their turntable. So like a legitimate one, not like
Yeah.
a consumer one. So
Sure.
I just think that foundation is always going to be there. And I think the pandemic slowed everyone down and forced more of a real connection with
Yes.
you know, we all were just moving so quick,
Yeah, I agree with you.
you
Yeah.
know. So
So tell me about some of the things you're working on.
right now, I just finished an Alicia record. It came out in September, and we're working on a bunch of new music. We have
Wow.
2 records that we're working on, and the exciting part is the rollouts, figuring out the rollouts during a pandemic, and we did some great partnerships. I'm also on her strategy team,
Oh,
so
excellent.
it's exciting to get to paint the palette. She's like Prince, so it's never like I'm working on an album or I'm not she's just puts the songs in buckets.
Okay.
So like she might have 4 different buckets right now. We're just making music, and
Hmm.
it's been great. You know, some of the artists that have been able to come in, she's been able to connect with through the pandemic has
Good.
been great. And we're just trying to keep the momentum, you know, for her. And what we are working on is like I do a lot of like when I would sit in a broadcast truck, now I'm taking files back and finding myself, you know, mixing our iHeart performance, or where I would sit in a truck. Now I'm like we're like full production with cameras, or you know, we have our team that we
Nice.
all fly together to LA. So
Yeah.
definitely working on lots and lots of great new music that you know Alicia's working on. So and
So you
admire it.
pivoted in an amazing way. You
We
have
did. We figured out
amazing.
we figured out like we pivoted. We put our gear on a truck. We
Hmm.
saw the world closing, and I said, Alicia, we have to do this because we had an album coming out, you know. So it was
Really?
like we pushed the album. It was supposed to come out in May.
Okay.
It was like, how do you, you know, we needed, how do you build strategies during the heart of a pandemic from March to May,
Sure.
where like artists like Alicia, they need press, like Adele, Alicia, they
Yeah.
want to be on TV, they need press. At one point, everything was shut down, right? Like
Right.
TV was shut down, like so all the shows were working from home. So
Yeah.
you saw us in a lot of ways. We partnered with AMX, we partnered with Mercedes, we partnered with Amazon in a huge, 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 huge way. We pivoted. She put a book out during that time. So
Yeah.
we pivoted from our book tour got canceled, our real tour got canceled.
Mm.
We partnered with Amazon, and the book was promoted via Kindle, and did this whole rollout where we were on Amazon.com the day of release. So, you know, there's
Amazing.
ways to pivot, and
Right.
you know that we learned during the pandemic. We've done everything from you know iHeart shows to you know big BET performances where we were in this little house, you know, filming this stuff. It looked so great, but really it was all of our gear that we had that we shipped on a truck, and the production looked incredible.
It's amazing.
You couldn't tell the difference. Yeah, so
Very cool.
it's I think something when that happens, and you know you get challenged, right? It's like you're in a baseball game, it's the bottom of the fifth,
Hmm.
and like you have to figure out how to win the game, you know, like you
Yeah.
get challenged in a way where it's like I'm gonna sink or we're gonna swim, and we
Right.
kept the momentum. And we did 2 concerts, like we did Corden outside for 5 days. Every day we hosted for 5 days with Corden. We
Hmm.
had audience members, you know, outside. And the same thing with Good Morning America. We were outside. We did during album release week, we did shows outside. So, and they were like, these are the first shows, you know, you're one of the only artists that have been able to, you know,
Only one.
want some, yeah, like it's
Very
easy
few.
for us, you know, because she plays and sings. So
Yeah.
like she doesn't need a big band or a, you know,
Oh,
in some
so
instances,
talented.
yeah, but some
Yeah.
instances that stage that we used for in Brooklyn for Good Morning America was just incredible, you know. So
Mhm.
we tried to get as creative as we could, you know, and some of those things we took away we'll probably use in the future.
Right.
So
I mean, it made you guys so resilient. You just kept pivoting and thinking of different strategies. And how long have you worked with her?
ooh, it's over 20 years now, since
What?
1998, yeah.
How did this come about that you,
We met at a studio named Quad Studios.
okay.
She was like 14 at the time,
Mm.
and she would come in. She had a publishing deal since she was 14, and she would just come in and write songs, you know, as part of a pub deal you wrote songs.
Sure.
And she would come in, and she was one of those artists on Columbia Records at the time
14.
where like Leah, her and Beyonce were those artists that were on the back burner because at the time they had Columbia had like Mariah and Gloria Estefan and
Mhm.
Celine Dion and all these artists that they were promoting. So these younger artists had to wait, you know, had to
Yeah,
prove themselves.
sure.
So she was writing songs, and she wound up on like a couple of soundtracks like the Men in Black,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you know she also fought for her artistry, and she wound up in the end 3 labels later signing with Clive Davis because he
Uh-huh.
left Arista and
Okay.
created J Records. So she left Arista with him.
It's
So
great.
it was an incredible journey to fight for your vision of who you should be,
Yeah.
and what your music is, you know, as
Yeah.
opposed to a label saying you're going to wear a dress, you're going to, put out this type of song. It was like she fought for who she was, who she wanted to be, and how her music was, perceived to the world. So
Sure. I love her. I remember seeing her perform at NAM one year. She's
yeah, we did the
outstanding.
plugin. I was there. That was the plugin we did with Native Instruments, believe it
Yep.
or not. Yep.
Amazing. Now, would you have normally come out to NAM, or you
I
did?
was there.
Oh, you were there. Okay.
At that one, I do go to NAM. I
Right.
haven't gone last year because we did the Grammys, and it kind of like, as you know, hosting the Grammys is a huge. So I didn't go the last couple of years because NAM and the Grammys kind of
Very
overlapped with
close.
each
Yes.
other. Yeah. So but I love NAM, and I deal with a lot of the vendors and gear companies that are at NAM, and I speak to them all year round. So
That's great.
yeah.
Amazing. So as far as tomorrow night, what are you going to be doing? Anything? Are you doing, I know you probably did a red carpet interview already.
I did the red carpet
Yeah.
interview. I did my acceptance speech, and
Nice.
then I'm gonna be at the what is it, the post party.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'll be at the post party, and I'm excited to celebrate a tough year with those amazing all the amazing women that are have done a lot to push the next generation. Some of those folks
Yeah.
are like my idols, you know what I
Nancy
mean? Like,
Wilson.
yeah, Nancy Wilson, the
Yeah.
Go-Go's, all
Louis
growing up.
Curry. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an honor.
It's amazing. Is there ever been a point in your career where you're just completely like starstruck, or do you grew up like this and it's no big deal?
Definitely, like I worked with Whitney Houston. I worked with Mariah for many years.
Hmm.
So to me, like I knew Mariah for a while, but to work with Whitney Houston and to work with her like in 2009 was pretty incredible. That was one of those moments where,
Yeah.
she was making a huge comeback, and Alicia wrote a song,
Yeah.
2 songs for her. I thought that was a magical moment, for us.
Sure. So tragic. So
It is.
yeah.
It's so sad. Even Prince, like
Oh,
Prince,
love him.
it's tragic. Some of our greatest artists just are gone too soon.
I know. I know.
I often think about what the landscape would be if they were still around.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
John Lennon and
I know.
Joplin and
Exactly.
you know.
What would you say as far as advice for people who want to do what you do?
I would say, there's so much to learn, and the industry's a lot of fun. It really is. I always like, but it's a lot of long hours no matter what part of the industry that you know this, right? Like no matter what it is, there's a lot of unglamorous moments, it's like long hours, you miss holidays, you miss family,
Mhm.
but there's a reward at the end. And if you really love this and are passionate about it, you can really be successful. And I always say do the work.
Yeah.
Just prove that you're a hard worker and you're going to shine, male, female, whatever it is. Just do the work. Like show, I was competitive. I wanted to be better than the boys, and I've never been prohibited. No one ever said you can't work or you're a girl, or I just sometimes you have to just, it's like Alex Rodriguez. He was fascinated. He loves baseball to the point where he studies so much about it, and you could show in the way he plays. And I often use him as an example, even on the business side of things, how he got into all these great businesses. And I say just make there be no competition, and
Yeah.
you're gonna shine, and study the depth of the industry. There's so much to learn because there's lots of overarching now. Producers engineers produce, arrangers write, writers arrange.
Hmm.
Technology has allowed us all to crossfade all of what we do, so it's much more exciting. You can evolve in
I
so
think
many
so.
ways. I get to work with Alicia on her album and put the whole album together. I get to pick the guitar players and the drummers and the producers. And it helps me with the sonic of how we want to paint the picture, because I get to pick the type of guitarist that complements the vision. It starts with
Mhm.
the artist's vision.
Yes.
So I just say learn. There's so much to learn now, and I'm at the end of the day, I'm still a student of the game. That's how I approach it. I look at what I could be learning, and I always focus on learning first. You know.
Well, okay, but here's what I see and hear. Be humble, because you're humble. Be
Yeah, absolutely,
kind, be
absolutely,
open, you know, be
absolutely.
willing to make, make mistakes, pick yourself up.
Correct. And it's okay to make mistakes,
Yeah,
right? Like, and it's
yeah,
okay to say, like, the biggest thing I learned is like, I don't know this piece of gear, right? Like
yeah,
I'll show you my console, right? Like you know what? I don't know this, but you know what? I'm gonna learn it. Give me time to grab the manual. Let me ask a tech.
hmm,
Like it's okay to say you don't know something. There's so many
yeah.
pieces of gear in the room. You don't have to know everything. If you press the wrong button and all the faders move, or
Right.
coming up, you're definitely on the seat of your pants because it's intimidating to feel like there's always something to learn.
Hmm.
But the beauty is we all understand it. You could say, look, I'm not sure how to use this software, but
Right.
wait, I'm going to ask someone, I'm going to read some manuals. And the world, if you go online, there's
Go
so
on
many.
YouTube and
Exactly. There's
yeah,
so many ways these days, but definitely be a student of the game, you know, um, be humble, it gets you a long way, so
yeah, absolutely. All right, awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you online tomorrow.
yeah, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Well, when I read about you, I thought, you've accomplished so much. You would be very inspiring to listen to. And so it's been really my pleasure to get to know you. And maybe sometime I could meet you in person.
Definitely. When this pandemic is over, we definitely all should get together and figure out how we can do more, collaborate more, and like just do
I
things.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
You know, let me just say that I know people can't probably reach out to you if they have advice, but do you have a website where people can check out what you do?
Yeah, it's junglecitystudios.com is my studio website. I have an Instagram page that I post lots of fun things on, what gear I'm using, what I'm doing with Alicia, microphone techniques, which is Antastic LV. I'm on there. My
Okay.
Instagram page is really where it's at. Facebook is a little more like community private, but Instagram is where it's at, and I'm on there 24/7. You can hit me up
24/7.
pretty much, like
Yeah.
we're all.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go on live and I show techniques from the studio and
Oh, cool.
and then She Is the Music do a lot. Check out She Is the Music. Join She Is the Music. It's a really great initiative, and we're doing lots of virtual songwriting camps, databases, mentorship programs, and check us out there as well.
Amazing. All right, cool. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you.